Hey world, welcome to my channel, A K in a Life. My name is Keshia Waldron. I am an entrepreneur, author, photographer, Jane of many trades, and I am back this week with another review of Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 7. Yes, we are on Episode 7, guys. So, as I always say, grab your wine, grab your popcorn, and let's get ready for this. So this week was moving day for the couples, moving into their apartments together and merging their lives together. So we're gonna start off with Noy and Steve. So with this episode, we've seen that they went to each other's apartments and looked at what each other has, how each other lives, and the only feedback that I have from them going to each other's apartment was Noy wanting her dog to sleep in the bed with them. I'm like, sis, you're not single anymore. You have a whole husband. Like, why do you want the dog to sleep in your bed? Like, come on now. You have a whole man that's warm-bodied and other things included. Why do you want the dog in your bed, Noy? Like, I would need you to fix that. I would need you to work on that. And you could tell that Steve was uncomfortable with the idea of having the dog in the bed, which I completely understand. Why would you want the dog in the bed? Like, what if the dog sheds? Like, why would you? Why? Just why? I don't get it. Especially with them being married now and like merging their lives, I just feel like the dog needs to be in his own bed. Like, no, get it together, sis. But this week, one of the experts finally came in and finally intervened with the couples. But Pastor Cal did come in to speak to the couples, and he did come in to speak to Noy and Steve. And Noy expressed that she has concerns about finances, which she's well in her right to be concerned about that. She expressed that she came from poverty. I believe she was a refugee. She lived in a refugee camp. So she's come from hard times, and it's almost traumatic to her to feel like she doesn't have the security that she requires and that she wants. And that anxiety of feeling like you might be in a situation where you have to struggle again. And, that can be triggering, especially if you grew up hard, And with Steve not having a job, that can really become a thing, because a lot of people get divorces based upon financial issues. And just from what I gather, Steve seems like he doesn't want a traditional 9 to 5. It seems like he wants to backpack and just live his life and travel from place to place, and he wants a partner in that. And Noy seems to have a different idea. She wants a provider. She wants stability. And Steve doesn't have that idea in his mind as far as how he wants to live his life. So that can definitely be a conflict. And I did find it interesting, the episode where the families met after the wedding, where Steve's dad referred to him as a vagabond. Like, from what I've known about the word vagabond, that is, at least in the past, I don't know if it's still relevant to this day, was a derogatory term to use for a person. So to have one of his parents refer to him as a vagabond, it's like a red flag. But I don't think Steve is a lazy person. I don't think he's a bum. I don't think he doesn't have his life together. I just feel like he wants more of a free life. But I feel like the life that he wants is two different things. So it's either one that you do when you're single and you have no commitment, no attachment. So you can do as you please. You can hop in your car and, travel from city to city. or do a cross-country road trip. But when you add a wife to the picture and one that wants 3 children, that may not be feasible if your wife is not in one accord with your desires. And there's nothing wrong with wanting stability. She never said that she wanted him to just fully carry on everything, but she does want the security to know that she won't have to carry it as the woman, which she's well in her right, and I actually agree with that. I do believe that men should be providers and protectors of their household. But it's 2022, and out in the dating scene, people move completely differently from tradition. But I'm definitely a believer in that traditional sense and that traditional and biblical principle. So, yeah. So I believe that even though they're seemingly a good fit for each other and it seems like they work well and they gel well with each other, I can see finances definitely being a big issue between the two if Steve doesn't find employment ASAP. But like I said, I have to crack down on the experts. I have to crack down on the people who cast for this show, the company. I'm not going to name them, even though I know who they are. I just feel like, yes, they may align as far as like on paper, Noy and Steve, but I feel like if somebody tells you that they grew up in poverty and they were a refugee and they have past traumatic experiences, I don't understand the logic of putting them with someone who's more of a free spirit and is not really worried about stability. That's more so, more so someone who just follows their heart and just does what they feel and wants to be one with nature and just, see the world backpacking. Like, why would you put those two people together, even though they may seem good on paper? I just feel like that's a big difference in ways of life. And to ask someone to compromise in that manner when you know that they've been through it, I just don't understand the logic. And it's a shame because I've been watching Married at First Sight for a good while now, several seasons now. And I had been binge watched season 3 with Shanice and Jeffrey, the original Boston. Cast. And I just feel like back then, the show was way more authentic than it is now. Now I feel like people are being casted just solely for the purpose of ratings and drama. And it's a shame because these are real people who are trusting experts and trusting people with degrees and psychologists with their lives, and this is how you got played with their lives. And I really, as a Married at First Sight fan, really don't like that. And I feel like just from what I see with other Married at First Sight fans and reviewers, we all say the same thing. Like the authenticity of the show, what it used to have, is not the same. It's more for entertainment. And it's a shame because I feel like the brand has definitely compromised. And I don't think it's a good look. But hey, if we boycotted the show, then they would have to make changes. But as long as we keep feeding into it and entertaining it and letting them get away with that, then that's what they're going to keep doing. So yeah, that's my little two-piece on, or that's my little 2 cents on Noy and Steve and what I feel about the process of the casting for Married at First Sight. So the next couple that I am going to review is Olajuwon and Katina. This week, Olajuwon and Katina did not have any action going on, no drama, which is good for the first time, Olajuwon not being in any drama. Cause he's just wild. He just be saying and doing the absolute most. But there wasn't no smoke with them this week, so I have no smoke for Olajuwon this week. Same story. They went to each other's house, see how each other's living. Katina wanted to make some changes to make the home feel a little more hearty for her and for them to share their lives. And Pastor Cal came through once again to see how they're doing. And it's funny because he pointed out the previous last week's episode when they did the horseback riding, how he was disturbed by how Olajuwon was talking to Katina. And I found it interesting. Hold on, guys. Let me put some lip gloss on. My lip gloss is my lips is getting dry. I gotta get it popping, like little mama. Okay, here we go. So Pastor Cal did mention that, and I thought that was interesting for him to bring that up. But he definitely checked Olajuwon about that, and Pastor Cal got it out of them. He asked them if they consummated the marriage, and from the looks of it, they did not. Which I'm surprised, because I thought that they did, and they just didn't say anything about it. But I was just like, why did Olajuwon need permission for Pastor Cal to give him the green light to consummate his marriage? I just found that weird and kind of like kindergarten-ish, like preschool-ish. I just thought that was weird. And it seemed like Katina was ready, and she probably was just like, dude, why is this not happening? I have needs. I'm like, I feel you, Katina. I feel you, sis. But and I can understand how that can be frustrating too. But I don't have much to say about them. They didn't have no smoke this week. So yeah. Well, I'm gonna move on to the last three couples that had all of the smoke this week. All of the smoke. So I am going to move on to Alyssa and Chris. And what I'm going to say is, Chris, congratulations. Congratulations. We, as Married at First Sight fans, are super proud of you for standing your grounds and putting Alyssa in her place. Finally. You finally stepped it up. You finally got it. I didn't really understand why Chris still moved into an apartment, knowing that he was to decide to get a divorce. I didn't really see the purpose of that, but I don't know if that had anything to do with like the behind the scenes, the production, or what. But he met with Pastor Cal. Alyssa met with Pastor Cal, and she just put on an Academy Award act, saying that she wanted to give it a try. She went home and she was able to clear her mind. She went home and was able to clear her mind and said that she wanted to give it a try and move forward. And I knew that was just BS. And she really put on an act in front of Pastor Cal. It's like, sweetheart, the 15 minutes of fame that you wanted coming on the show is over. Your days are over. You're done with. You're out of there. You're out of there. You're done with. It's cut. But she put on an Academy Award actress act, and I'm so glad that Chris seen right through it. But I found it very odd and interesting that when Chris said that he wanted a divorce, she started to burst out in tears. I'm like, what are you crying for? You got what you wanted. You didn't want Chris. You weren't attracted to Chris. So why are you crying that you have to go home? You know why you're crying? Because you don't have 6 weeks of free rent. And all of the perks that you would have gotten being on the show that you were looking for is over with. Good riddance. We are so sick of your shenanigans. We're sick of seeing you. Alyssa, if you're watching, we are sick. We were sick of seeing you, and we are happy to see you. Walk out that door. Walk out that door. Because you're not a nice person. You're not a good person. And we no longer have to see you until decision day, when you have to come back. But needless to say, I'm glad to see you go. And hopefully you find some therapy and work on yourself. Hopefully you see yourself on television and reflect and work on your behaviors and be a better person. Hopefully this is a learning lesson for you, or maybe it's not. Who knows? But toodaloo. Toodaloo. But yeah, Chris, we're proud of you, and we wish you nothing but the best in your future, and hope that you find the happiness that you wanted out of this process that you did not get. All right, moving along to the next couple. My last two couples, the shenanigan couples. I'm going to go with the next couple being Michael and Jasmina, because I'm not going to do Lindsay and Mark right now because I got to read for the both of them. So that read is going to take a while. So we move on to Jasmina and Michael. So this week we see Jasmina and Michael once again in the process of going to each other's spaces, seeing how each other live, and then merging their lives into the Married at First Sight apartment that's set up. So Jasmina went to Michael's apartment and she asked him, "Have you ever lived with a woman before?" Michael looked her dead in the face, smiled with a little slick smirk, and declared that he's never lived with a woman before. He said, "No, never." This would be his, I think he said it would be his first experience or time or something along those lines, which was a big bold-faced fat lie. A big bold-faced fat lie, Michael. Michael, why you lying?
Why you always lying? Oh my God.
What's the purpose? What's the purpose? Why are you lying about small things? People who lie about small things definitely lie about big things. Why would you lie? For what? Like, it's weird because it's like, you know, like when you're a kid, you lie mainly because you don't want to get in trouble with an adult or your parent. But when you're a grown adult and you just lie for simple things, it's weird. It's odd. It's giving odd. It's giving weird. Yeah, he lied right directly to Jasmina's face. And then she found out not only has he lived with a woman outside of his sisters, he's lived with 2 women because he has 2 female roommates. You guys know that I'm usually on Jasmina's head. You know, I usually call her out on how she operates. But this week, I'm going to say I'm not on her head this week. Because Michael showed his complete rear this week. It was weird to have him just bold-faced lie to her and then her have to find out when the roommate goes into her room. Like, and the thing about it, what people may not realize or not getting about that scenario, if I ask you a direct question and you lie to my face and then you get exposed and then you try to gaslight me like, oh, I wasn't trying to hide anything from you. What would be the purpose of me having to hide something from you? I wasn't trying to do that on purpose. I just feel like it's mind games. I don't want to use the word narc. I don't want to use that word because I don't want to label anybody as that. But it's just odd. And I see the manipulation and the mind games that goes into that. And as I stated before, and because I be in the Married at First Sight streets, I be in the comments, I be reading the comments, I be interacting and all of that. And I felt like how Michael went about this could be for two reasons or one reason. And one of the reasons I feel like you decided to lie about it because you have something to hide. Like, have you had a romantic relationship with one of these roommates, or a sexual relationship with one of these roommates that you had, that you feel like you had to lie? Which is odd, because the thing about it is the lie wasn't necessary, because they're going to be moving in together in the Married at First Sight apartment. And then after the show's over, they're going to move into a home together, whether that's apartment together or a house together. So it's not, I don't believe he'll be returning back to his roommate situation. So I found that weird. And then my other theory was this was the get back from the boat incident, when he said that Jasmina had cut him off. I'm like, is this a petty game, a tit for tat, a ping pong effect? As to why you boldface lied to her that you never lived with a woman outside of your sisters. It was giving weird. Like, I don't know what else to say about it outside that it was just odd. And yeah, it was just strange that he just lied to her like that. And I know it probably went over a lot of people's heads, because some people don't listen to understand. So I feel like Jasmina wasn't saying that she had an issue with him having female roommates. She had an issue with him not just being straight up about it. She had an issue with him lying to her, especially because they showed a clip. They flashed back to the clip on the wedding day when she showed him, hey, that's my male roommate, and he's also one of my good friends. And then they also showed that clip where they showed Michael's face, and he didn't. I don't know if he answered, because it didn't look like he answered, but he had this face when she told him that. And I feel like this is a get back. And it's so funny, without getting too much into my personal life, but Michael reminds me of somebody that I know. That's somebody that I dated for a short-lived piece of time. He reminds me of that person so much. And I didn't recognize it at first, but as the episodes and the weeks are going by, I'm starting to recognize things in Michael that I didn't pick up at first, because I knew a person like him. And the pettiness and the petty behavior and the tit for tat and the little condescending things, it was just team too much. So I now see him for who he's showing up to be. So when Jasmina's like, yo, he's yelling off camera and he's disrespecting me, he's raising his voice, I don't find it hard to believe. Especially when you lie about something simple as having roommates that are female. When you had all the opportunity to just come out and say it, and then you hit her with the, oh, I didn't know that it would have been an issue. Oh, I didn't know. I wasn't purposely trying to hide it from you. It's just like, dude, we are now seeing why your relationships has failed. You are not only a self-sabotager, but you got some things to work on, sir. And you need therapy for not only like your own personal issues that you have, but also dealing with loss as well. Like, you have a lot to work on. Married at First Sight should have not been Michael's option. Therapy should have been Michael's option. So for Jasmina as well, therapy should be her option, because you know how I feel about her. You know how I feel like she's just a hard person that needs to soften up. But I understand where she's coming from now. It's hard to soften up with a person that doesn't allow you to be soft, that doesn't allow you to be to walk in your feminine energy. And I'm not saying that Michael does not allow her to be that, because he does a lot of things that's not leader-like. So when you're dealing with someone that's not a leader, you tend to take on the role of the leader as a woman. You tend to take on the masculine role, the traditional masculine role, and taking on that masculine energy, because Michael does not have that. When he said last week's episode that Olajuwon was an alpha male, I was like, Olajuwon is not an alpha male. But if you feel like that Olajuwon is an alpha male, what type of male are you? If your definition of alpha male is Olajuwon, because my definition of alpha male is not Olajuwon. He does not fit that description. Just beating on your chest and saying that you want a woman to cook for you every day and to be in control is not an alpha male to me. As I mentioned before, Michael and Jasmina are going downhill. I don't see them making it. I just see them going downhill week after week. And Jasmina is already giving me checked out vibes, and I don't blame her, because I feel like this week and also what she's been experiencing off camera has really turned her off. And I believe she's already out the door, to be honest with you, but she's still probably going to go through the whole process of the full 8 weeks. But I don't see them recovering, because it's hard to recover from feeling a way about a person, especially when you just meet them. They're like 1 week in, she's already turned off. So that that doesn't show a promising future with those two. But moving along to my last couple, which is Mark and Lindsay. I have so much to say about the both of them this week. So this week we've seen that Mark and Lindsay went to each other's apartment, and Mark had his bed bug situation, so Lindsay offered to have him move in with her, and they went to his apartment to get his stuff to move in with Lindsay, and they were all there in their Ghostbusters gear, which was funny. But yeah, Lindsay just helped him get rid of stuff. Mark seems like he holds on to sentimental stuff, and Lindsay's like, if it's junk, it's junk, throw it away. And I could see how he felt the way about that, because he's just like, you're violating my space, you're in my space, and you're trying to take over, you're trying to take control. And Mark seems like he doesn't like people taking control of his life. He likes to process things, and he likes to be in control of his own life. But when you're in a situation of need and you have to depend on another person, then the control is no longer in your control. And I could see as a man how that is affecting him. And it's funny, because if you watched my review last week, you did see where I mentioned that I felt like Mark didn't like Lindsay because his body language screamed a whole lot more than what his words were saying. It didn't match up to me. And I feel like this week it really came to a head and it added up. And I felt like what I was saying last week on my review pretty much was spot on with how I was feeling about what I was observing, watching him and Lindsay interact. And this week pretty much solidified it, because Mark, one, he didn't feel comfortable even moving into her space, but that was his option for now. And it's like, but at the same time, I'm like, Mark, where's your backup plan though? I hope he has a backup plan. But yeah, so they moved into the Married at First Sight apartment, and they got into it. Because Lindsay is one of those type of people that she dives in fast. And I believe because they consummated their marriage so early, her feelings are already entangled into Mark. And Mark is stepping back because he's seeing things in Lindsay that he does not like, that he does not care for. And he mentioned that. He mentioned that he was turned off by how things went down on the honeymoon with her getting to it with the other couples. He mentioned the drinking. He doesn't care for that either. And Lindsay loves to drink. So he's getting turned off by the minute. And now he's in a situation where he has to depend on somebody that he's turned off by. So he's in a weird space. And he's stepping back, he's pulling back. And Lindsay is just like, hey, if you're going to pull back, I'm going to fall all the way back. Because I'm already invested in you. My feelings are already invested in you. We already consummated marriage. And you're living with me. And then you want to pull back. Like, you act two different ways. She mentioned that he acts different on camera than he does off camera. And I feel like Lindsay isn't self-aware, just like Alyssa wasn't self-aware. I feel like she probably hasn't had anyone put her in her place before. She's always used to just getting her way or just being overbearing and overtaking things and people. So she doesn't receive constructive criticism or feedback very well. Because Mark, when Pastor Cal came to the apartment and sat down with them, he was expressing himself, and she was flying off the handle. She was just like, I'm frustrated with you. She was just going off. And that is putting Mark in a space where he's scared. Like, he's scared of this woman. He's scared to express himself. He's scared to say, I don't like what you do. You're making me feel uncomfortable. I don't like your ways. Because she's like so much. She's teamed too much. She's very overbearing. So he was expressing himself to Pastor Cal, and Pastor Cal had to pretty much say, Lindsay, allow him to talk. Lindsay, are you hearing what he's saying to you? So what I caught from the conversation when he was telling Lindsay, like, he feels like he's not in his own skin, like she's overtaking his life, like she's just doing too much and it's making him feel uncomfortable and making him pull back. She's telling Mark what she feels like he's trying to say while he's telling her exactly what he's saying. And I felt like, girl, what is wrong with you? Like, he's literally telling you what he means and saying exactly what he means now that there's a mediator in the room. And then you're telling him what you think he meant. And a lot of women do this, by the way. He said exactly what he said. There's no in-betweens about it. There's no trying to figure it out. It's not a crossword puzzle. Like, it's not a maze. He said exactly what he said directly as he said it. And you're trying to interpret what he's saying to be something different to what you think he said. You're not a good listener. You don't listen. You don't process other people's emotions. You only care about your own. You only care about how you feel, not the other person. And then you want them to be romantic with you. You want them to hug you and hold your hand and love on you, but you don't consider their feelings. When you feel like you're not being heard in a relationship, you're going to emotionally pull back. You're even going to pull back physically because you're not going to want to do those things with a person that you feel like does not hear you, that's not listening to you, that does not consider your feelings. Like, I feel like a lot of women go through that, but in this case, Mark is going through it. And Lindsay's just not listening. She just likes to go off and have her own way. Like, and I'm not going to make this a long video because I don't want to make it a long video, but let me gather Lindsay really quick. Because I seen the next week's episode, a preview of next week's episode, and her and Mark got into it at, I think it was a bowling alley, and she said to him, Lindsay, I'm about to gather you. Because I remember the first review that I did, I said I liked you because I liked your personality. I was like, you look like you're fun, like a fun person, like we have a lot of fun with you. But you have now shown your true colors, and you're not somebody that I want to be around or hang out with. Like, when people were calling her Karen during the honeymoon, when her and Olajuwon got into it, I didn't jump in that bag. I did not jump on that bandwagon and call her Karen. I said, let me just see how she moves from here. Let me see if this is a pattern with her or this was an instant. But now I'm seeing it's a pattern with you. So her and Mark got into it at the bowling alley, and because her dad did mention that she just spews. She just says whatever comes out of her mouth. She turned around and said at that bowling alley for the next episode coming up, why don't you go back to your mom? Why don't you go back to your mom? Something along the lines of that. Why don't you get out of here and go back to your mom? Something like that. You know, Lindsay, you know this man's mother is, I believe, in a nursing home or some type of special facility because of her health. Why would you say that? Why would you spew that? Why would you bring that up? Like, why would you emasculate him like that? Why would you throw that back in his face? That is super disrespectful. But if he disrespected you and called you out of your name, you would cry about it. You would be like, I want a divorce. He disrespected me. You hit him with a low blow. He will never trust you. He would never fool with you. He may be cordial to you. He may even be nice to you. But sweetie, that man would never fool with you ever again. And we'll see how that plays out in next week's episode. But I just thought that was so low of Lindsay to do. She's one of those type of people, because it's now revealed who this lady is. She's one of those type of people that will help you just to say that, to turn around and say that you needed her. And she helped you with this and she helped you with that to throw it back in your face. If you're going to help me and you have agendas and alternate motives, don't help me. Don't help me. Let me stay in my struggle. Let me figure it out. If you're going to use that as a rope to pull me in, to manipulate me because I'm dependent on you, do not help me. And Mark, you better figure it out, sir. You better figure out your plan. You better figure out how to get your life in order and your business in order. Because now you see the type of woman that this lady is. You've already been seeing things that you didn't like, but this solidified that you got to get Mark in order and not depend on anybody. And I know the experts put them together because they felt like Lindsay would be a good nurturer or caretaker for him and his mom because she comes from a nursing background. Experts, you missed the mark once again because this lady is manipulative, vindictive, and vile. Because for you to know that this man loves his mom so much, she didn't even come to the wedding because of her health issues. For you to turn around and say, go back to her, you don't need to be nobody's wife until you get yourself together. And we see why men was just taking advantage of you and moving on. You made it seem like they were the bad ones. All the engineers, you've been through all the engineers and they all trash. No, you're trash. You are trash. Because trash people uses people's issues, especially when it comes to people who are like dear and near to them and throw it back in their face to hurt them, are trash people. So you trash for that. And you are a Karen. I vouch for you before, but I take it back because I don't fool with you after this episode. Okay? Like, that turned me completely off seeing that for next week's episode. I was just like, this lady, she's dangerous. She's dangerous. Because the incident in Puerto Rico was one sign of it, but this one, for me, flew it off the handle. Because you strike me as one of them women that would throw themselves into a wall and say a man beat you and he never put his hands on you. Just to get him in trouble. Because you're vindictive. Lindsay, you canceled. You are canceled. Canceled. You're canceled. And then Mark told her, why don't you have another drink? As he's walking away. He already said he doesn't want a woman that's always drunk, that's always drinking. It's a turn off for him. And Lindsay's so not self-aware, she's not realizing this is a turn off. You're going to walk away this process with no husband. Because how you get down or how you act. And you sat there and talked about Alyssa and said, oh, Alyssa's going to look back and regret. No, you're going to look back and regret that you had a stand-up guy like Mark, even though he needs to get his life in order, get some things together. And you missed the opportunity because you're a vindictive woman. Because you're low. Because you're vile. Because you're a Karen. Lindsay, you canceled. You are canceled in my book. Okay? So anyway, I just had to get that off my chest. Thank you for once again tuning in with me, guys, for another review of Married at First Sight Season 14. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Like my video, subscribe to my channel. Write in the comments, talk to me. Let's talk. Let's discuss some things. I love talking to you guys. But yeah, until next week. See ya. Deuces. Yeah, I show my nails. Oh, gotta show my nails.